The flood was supposed to erase the Nephilim from the earth, yet generations later, Israel's spies claimed they saw them again in the land of Canaan. If that report was true, then what exactly survived Noah's judgment? Were the Nephilim physically preserved through the flood? Did their descendants continue through another ancient bloodline? Or were later warriors called Nephilim because they were powerful enough to seem more than human? The answer is hidden between a single phrase in Genesis, a fearful report in Numbers, and ancient Jewish writings discovered near the Dead Sea. This is Echoes of Antiquity Untold. Today we are investigating the history behind the history of the Nephilim. The Nephilim first appear in Genesis 6, just before the story of Noah's flood. The passage describes a world overwhelmed by violence, corruption, and moral collapse. Then, almost without warning, it introduces a mysterious group known as the Nephilim. Genesis says that the Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward. The passage connects them with the sons of God, the daughters of humanity, and offspring born from that mysterious union. But the text never gives us a complete physical description of what the Nephilim were. Many English translations render the word Nephilim as giants. But that translation is an interpretation, not a photograph of the original meaning. The Hebrew term has been connected by scholars with ideas of falling, violence, or powerful figures. The phrase "and also afterward" is where the mystery becomes more complicated. Some readers understand it to mean that the Nephilim existed both before and after the flood. Others believe Genesis is describing the same ancient period from two connected angles. The passage does not explicitly say that the Nephilim survived the flood. It does not describe a hidden boat, a surviving family, or a biological chain continuing through Noah's descendants. The wording creates a question, but it does not provide a simple answer. That uncertainty is important because later traditions often expanded details that Genesis leaves unexplained. Ancient audiences may have already known stories about heavenly beings, mighty warriors, and a corrupted world before the flood. Genesis preserves the mystery without giving us every piece of the tradition. The next major reference appears in Numbers 13. Moses sends 12 spies into Canaan to examine the land and report on its people, cities, and defenses. When they return, the spies agree that the land is fertile, but they disagree about whether Israel can conquer it. 10 spies focus on the strength of the people living there. They describe powerful cities and terrifying warriors who make the Israelites feel insignificant by comparison. In the Hebrew wording of their report, they also say that they saw the Nephilim. The report then connects the Nephilim with the descendants of Enoch. This passage is the strongest biblical reason many readers believe the giants continued after the flood. But Numbers 13 is also the testimony of frightened spies attempting to persuade an entire nation not to enter the land. The first interpretation is survival. According to this view, some Nephilim escaped the flood through an unknown means, or their bloodline continued through another family. This interpretation takes the connection between Genesis 6 and Numbers 13 in the most direct way. The second interpretation is descent. The later giants may not have been the original Nephilim, but instead descendants of powerful clans such as the Anakim or Rephaim. Over time, different traditions may have connected these groups with the ancient figures from Genesis. The third interpretation is tidal. The word Nephilim may have become a traditional name for terrifying warriors, people whose strength and reputation made them seem larger than ordinary humanity. Under this view, the spies were describing enemies through the language of ancient fear. The Bible later mentions several groups associated with unusual strength, size, or ancient reputation. These include the Anakim, the Rephaim, Og king of Bashan, and Goliath of Gath. But the text does not clearly state that every one of these figures belonged to one biological race. A powerful clan is not automatically descended from the Watchers. A tall warrior is not automatically a Nephilim. And a biblical reference to giants should not be used as proof that every ancient story describes the same population. The Bible may preserve related memories of mighty warriors and feared enemies. But related memories are not the same as a confirmed genealogy. The traditions overlap, yet they do not provide one unbroken chain from Genesis 6 to the battles of Canaan. Centuries after Genesis was written, the Book of Enoch expanded the story of the Nephilim. It describes heavenly beings often called the Watchers descending to earth and taking human wives. Their offspring become giant beings associated with violence, corruption, and judgment. Enoch explains details that Genesis leaves unexplained. It gives the Watchers names, describes their rebellion, and connects the giants with the destruction of the world before the flood. For many ancient readers, this became a fuller explanation of Genesis 6. But we must be precise about what the Book of Enoch proves. It is evidence that ancient Jewish communities interpreted Genesis through stories about heavenly beings and giants. It is not an archaeological excavation, and it does not physically prove that the supernatural events occurred exactly as described. The Dead Sea Scrolls add another layer to the story. Among the fragments discovered near Qumran are portions of a work commonly known as the Book of Giants. The text is connected with traditions about the Watchers, their offspring, dreams, judgment, and Enoch. This discovery is significant because it shows that stories about the Watchers and giants were circulating among ancient Jewish communities long before the modern era. These traditions were not created by recent internet speculation. They were preserved in ancient writings by people trying to understand the mysterious passages of Genesis. But the scrolls prove the antiquity of the belief, not the physical existence of the beings described. They show what some ancient people believed about the Nephilim. They do not provide the remains of a supernatural race. Archaeology has uncovered ancient cities, weapons, inscriptions, burial sites, flood deposits, and human remains. It has shown that ancient societies remembered powerful warriors and legendary ancestors. It has also confirmed that some individuals in the ancient world were unusually tall. Human gigantism is real. Some individuals grow far beyond average height because of medical conditions affecting growth hormones. But one unusually tall individual is not evidence of a supernatural population. Many alleged discoveries of giant skeletons have turned out to be hoaxes, altered images, misidentified remains, or exaggerated newspaper reports. A large footprint, a dramatic photograph, or an internet story is not the same as a verified excavation. Honest evidence is more valuable than a dramatic claim. So, did the Nephilim survive the flood? The biblical text creates the possibility, but it does not prove the conclusion. Genesis 6 mentions the Nephilim, Numbers 13 mentions them again, and later Jewish writings expand the tradition. What the evidence does not give us is one confirmed chain of survival. We cannot responsibly claim that archaeology has discovered the Nephilim. We also should not pretend that the ancient mystery is meaningless. The ancient texts preserve a memory of a world filled with violence, extraordinary warriors, divine judgment, and fear. Whether the Nephilim were fallen beings, mighty warriors, legendary ancestors, or a combination of these ideas, the tradition reveals what ancient people believed was at stake. They were not only asking how the world began, but how corruption entered it and whether anything could survive judgment. Perhaps that is why the story continues to endure. The Nephilim are remembered not only as giants, but as symbols of a world where evil appears larger than humanity itself. And the biblical story does not end with the giants. It ends with judgment, survival, and the possibility of a new beginning. The archaeology and the theology are not enemies, because archaeology can show us the world in which these traditions developed, while ancient texts reveal how people interpreted that world. This is the history behind the history, the evidence beneath the text. If this is the kind of story you have been looking for, subscribe to Echoes of Antiquity Untold. Here we investigate the Bible's most difficult mysteries without abandoning either faith or evidence. Hit subscribe so you do not miss the next investigation, and I'll see you in the caves.